Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're talking about the best-selling cards under $5 left. It's a penny stock market watch for Yu-Gi-Oh! Bestial's Sarnir has made its way to the top six. I will say about the Bestial cards, it does seem like on their own they're actually not that bad. It kind of reminds me of Danger when it first came out, or even like Dragon Rulers. I know it's not the greatest thing to compare something to Dragon Rulers, but it really is about just the way Dragon Rulers was kind of thrown into everything. Um, there's just so much. There's just so much you could do with the Bastille cards. Like I said, you can run. What is this guy? You can run the Bastilles by themselves. Can be special attributed to while special summon. Negate the effects of all face-up ritual fusion and synchro Z's and link monsters on the field. You can banish all face down card. You can banish all face down cards in the extra deck face up until your opponent's end phase. 3,500 attack. Interesting. I don't see that card very often. That's why I wanted to look it up. But I'm sure these cards are also very hot as far as being sold right now, especially if Sarnir um, is number 6. I think it's number 6. I think it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It could go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not sure, but either way, they do kind of seem like a necessary evil at this point. Because the best deck is still Tier Elements, obviously. But even just looking at like this best rogue decks right now, um, that's Appliancers. I'm pretty sure Plunder Patrol are darks. Heroes are obviously a bunch of different attributes, but they kind of lean more towards dark. Like I feel like the better hero monster, obviously there's Stratos, but most of the good hero monsters are dark. So the Bestial stuffs are just absolutely solid as of right now. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future, like I said, it's kind of like the danger cards, where the good ones will be at 1, and that will hopefully slow down the archetype. But we still see danger gets ran today too. Speaking of danger, we haven't really seen much from the structure deck. Let's take a look actually. Well, let me, because I kind of want to risk it and wait to see, because I know the structure deck is out. Alright, we'll just go straight to it. We'll just go straight to the structure deck. Let me see how I want to do this here. We can go like that. I don't think that's the right one. Oh, it is. Okay. So it's on TCG Player right now. For $9, which is actually really solid. That's not what I was trying to do though. I think, what is the name of the other structure deck that Dark World has? Because that's where we're at now. We're at the stage in Yu-Gi-Oh where we start, where Konami is just reprinting new structure decks for archetypes that already have structure decks. So, this is an order of best selling. Let's switch this up real quick to high to low. So you can get a case, I should say. You get 8 for 60. That's actually not that bad. Not a penny stock, but I do think that and you guys probably noticed, like, most of the time on my channel, when a structure deck comes out, you'll see me post like 3 copies of most optimized version of 3 copies of the structure deck, and I win with all of those, by the way. I just haven't really, I shouldn't say all of them, but I haven't done the Crystal Beast one yet. But I did win with the Ice Barrier one, and the reason I got the Ice Barrier one, I mean, we just take a look. I believe, because Ice Barriers by no means are they good deck like at all. I guess we're going to reenact. But if we look at the Freezing Chain structure deck, you had a Pointer of the Red Lotus. Obviously, that's not as good as it used to be. Heavy Storm Duster, Trishula, like a lot of solid synchros. This wasn't that great of a structure deck. I'm looking at it in retrospect. It would have been better if it had Swamp Frog, though. But when we look at, and there too, we go back one more time to that structure deck. I just wanted to showcase, this is only worth $11, but that's still not that bad. right? A pointer of the Red Lotus at one point was worth like $4 or $5. It just got hit on the ban list. So I think like worst case scenario, this in a year, because how long ago did the freezing train structure that come out? Maybe about a year, almost 2 years ago now. So in that amount of time period, we'll see this structure deck probably will get up there, if not even higher, because this is actually a good structure deck, and there are good first edition printings like this card. This card, I have be careful about this card as far as hesitating to get it. I think this is actually a really solid buy. I think that Skill Drain obviously is the top buy, right? And because if we look at the all versions of Skill Drain, I'm sure the fact that it came to 3 and it didn't really do a whole lot, and the fact that there are now so many printings, it is like Magnificent Mavis just came out, and the structure deck version just came out. So Skill Drain is a good buy, but I really think the best buy from the structure deck is actually the Grapha Fusion monster, because this card is really good. This card is really, really good. This card is really, really good. The Danger reprints are pretty solid. I think this card's new, right? I believe that card's new, and there's probably another new. This card's new. I'm pretty sure. Dynamiscus is a good reprint. Card Destruction is a decent reprint. And obviously some of the Dark World stuff being reprinted, nothing wrong with that. Like Dark World Dealings, I'm pretty sure is in here. Right, there it is. Drag Down Gates, Deck Devi. So there are some cool reprints in here, but not like Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs or D Shifter type reprints, in my opinion. Maybe Skill Drain's on that level. But this card is really the card I would look out for, because when we look at it, it's kind of a super poly target. We do see a lot of like the Hexio monsters get ran, like King of the Swamp. Like Tier Elements can run this card, right? Because King of the Swamp can be substituted plus a dark monster, and a lot of the archetype is dark. And we were just talking about the Bestial stuff. So I would be on the lookout for this card. Once these structure decks stop being sold at $9, they start being sold at $11. This card might start to sneak up in price, and right now it's only sitting at about 70 cents. So just be on the lookout for that as we climb all the way back to where we were before. Yeah, this is what happens when you do high to low. We find Meteor of Destruction. This is really pop. But for the most part, F-Zero is snuck underneath the $5 mark. No, it hasn't. I didn't think so. I mean, this is a good card, don't get me wrong, but it's not a penny stock, so it isn't. We're not going to talk about it. Because penny stocks are anything under, $5 or less. We might end up going to the second page right now, because there really are a lot of like Yugioh, Sword Soul, Chaos. Goddess of the Closed Worlds. So a lot of cards that we've seen before. I don't really think that this card is the greatest buy right now. You never want to buy a card when it's like here at its peak. And I guess technically its peak was 403. Yeah, and right now it's at 378. Lowest is 385. Right? So I would wait, but like I always say, buy cards as you will. It is a generic Xyz 4. It does say draw 2, discard 1, which is really good, obviously. Skipping your next draw phase isn't the best, but in some decks it's okay, right? It's like Dark World. This is a great example of that. You almost want to skip your next draw phase after turn 1. But skipping battle phases, skipping main phases, those aren't good. It's really just the first effect that's okay. And it's kind of got a better version of Reckless Greed effect going. 1200 attack. The stats are also really not that great either. Stats do matter. Like, it's not a coincidence. When we look at some of the better Xyz monsters, like you think of, oh, well, they just have really good effects. Right, but like F-Zero also has 3000 attack. Yeah, that's it for this page. But like Abyss Dweller has 17, and 17 is not the greatest, but if Abyss Dweller has a water monster, all of a sudden Abyss Dweller's 22. Exciton Knight, I believe, is either 18 or 19. Daigusto Emerald is 18. Time Thief Redoer. Because in a simplified game state where stats start to matter, having like you summoning out that monster, whose name is that? I didn't even look at the card's name. You summoning out number 60 and your opponent having like a skill drain faced up for some reason and a Time Thief Redoer. Time Thief Redoer literally has double the attack. And I know it's like, oh, attack doesn't matter, but it does to some extent. To some very small extent. It's like it's this weird thing of like I'm gonna be on a TED talk for a second. It's this weird thing of like really new players see attack points as mattering a lot, right? And like as you grow in your your Yugioh development, you'll start to realize, well, no, attack doesn't really matter that much, right? But you'll get to a certain spot, and this is real. You'll get to a certain spot where you start to realize, wait, stats do kind of matter. Like the fact that I can never summon this monster in attack position, it's really kind of bad. The fact that this monster has 1200 attack is really kind of bad. Like the fact that in certain simplified game states, you can switch Baguska to attack, especially with a monster like Zeus. Like Zeus for Baguska, it's really easy to do because Baguska in attack position can't be destroyed by card effects, and I don't think it can be targeted either, or something like that. And so you just attack with Baguska, who has 2100 attack, and that can usually beat over a lot of monsters that are in defense position, right? Which is what Baguska does, puts monsters in defense position unless they're link monsters. And then you can make Zeus. Like, there's just not a lot of circumstances where number 60 will be making Zeus. I mean, there are, obviously, because stats, like I said, stats matter, but they don't, like, matter. And we know that. They're, like, kind of like life points, right? Like, life points, as long as you have one life point, you're fine. But you still would like to have, like, you can't activate Solemn Strike if you have one life point. It's kind of like that mentality of, like, yes, attack doesn't really matter, right? But it's like, I'll say this too about monsters that have 3100 attack. You'll notice a lot of cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Only have 3000. A lot of cards get topped out at 3000. But no cards have 3100 attack. And when, well, not no cards, but not a lot of cards have 3100 attack. So when a monster has 3100 attack, it's a little interesting. And I do think, going back to the Bestial cards, that's why these Bestial cards are so popular right now. Or that's not the main reason, right? The main reason is the DD Crow effect. The main reason is that they're very consistent with what they do because of their ability to search and their ability to summon. But also, if we look, 2500 attack, 2500 attack, 2500 attack, 2500 attack, right? And then obviously the big one's got 3500 attack. And so, TLDR, attack points matter. Attack points don't matter until they do. TLDR, right? So I don't think this is a good buy. Not just because of its stats, though. I also think, I mean, in Dark World specifically, it's fine. Like you don't really feel the negative effects of skipping your next draw phase in Dark Worlds because there's just so much draw power in the deck that it doesn't matter, right? Skipping your main phase is terrible. Skipping your battle phase is okay, but it's not ideal. And only having 1200 attack, I would wait for this monster to potentially get a reprint or to just calm down a little bit because Dark World's really not that popular. But even though I've just been bashing this card because it has 1200 attack, I will say this: if something crazy happens, like what happened in the OCG to tier elements, and nothing checks Dark World, this card might end up being relatively expensive. And having multiple printings does kind of make it not the greatest thing to buy, but only having two, keep your eye on it, I will say. But odds are it's just going to go down in price. But like I said, we're probably going to end up going to the second page because we've talked about all these cards. I mean, we just got done talking about this card. Like I said, I figured this was the best card from the Dark World structure deck. Skill Drain has been needing a reprint for a while. We've actually talked about Skill Drain a few times, so make sure you guys subscribe. Because I'm sure to like, because I know that some of you guys watch these videos every week, and it probably gets tiresome of me going like, oh, we could talk about Sword Soul now. Let's talk about Dark. Like, let's talk about Skill Drain. Let's talk about. So I try to keep it fresh. But there are certain cards, like just real quick, for example, like that Ash Blossom, Ian Shuffle, Fusion Destiny, Blackluster Soldier, um, sorry Yugioh, Goddess of the Closed World, and like I said, Sword Soul, and even the Ishizu stuff. I really like all of those cards as buys, and I've explained it in other videos. So just make sure you guys subscribe. That's all I'm trying to just do a minor plug for the channel. Um, I kind of want to look at Pendulum, but I feel like Pendulum. If I look at Pendulum, we're gonna be here all day. Um, yeah, not a lot of major changes. Let's take a look at this guy. So sitting at about $3. Let's take a look at the Cybernetic Horizon version. Yeah, all versions of Hope Harbinger is going up. This is a great card, though, if you have one of. I'm just trying to see, how low it went at one point. Because there was one point, $2. The lowest it ever got to was $2, and the card wasn't even being ran back, a month ago. The reason why this card is randomly almost double in price, as a matter of fact, because it was 198, 190, 180. Yeah, it's doubled in price because of the Dark World structure deck, like we've been talking about, but also because it's just a really solid generic Xyz 8. Like, first off, 3,000 attack. It also can redirect attack, which sometimes comes up, right? Take, for example, that card number 60, we were just talking about it. Like, if number 60 is on the field, and this is the case a lot of times for Dark World, number 60 is on the field with 1,200 attack and defense. My opponent summons a Baguska, like we were just talking about, and they're unaware that Hope Harbinger has this secondary effect. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can detach one material for this card, change the attack target to this card, and then perform damage calc. And there's even, if a face-up Xyz monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one face-up Xyz monster you control, it gains attack. Right? Like, your opponent probably doesn't know that these exist. Or at least if they're not that good. Like, good people know that this card exists, that effect exists. But you might be able to cheese out, hey, on attack declaration, Hope Harbinger effect, to detach the material, change the attack to this card. And he's like, I didn't know it could do that, right? Because most people know this card as, once per turn when a spell card or effect is activated, you can negate the effect. And if you do, attach that card to this material. Or attach that card to this as material. So, spell negation is always going to be good, by the way. Like, that's always going to be good. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is super reliant on spell and monster effect negation. So, if you have a card that can negate one of those two things, it's always going to be good. And, yeah, it's kind of hard to make because it is an Xyz 8, but there are a lot of decks that can randomly make this card. Like, I'm trying to see this. I don't know. Don't quote me. I don't want to go ahead and say that this deck can make it, but I'm pretty sure this Crystal Beast can make it. I don't think I've ever seen someone run it. Maybe I spelled Crystal wrong. I did. I did spell Crystal wrong. That's no fun. This card is level 7 or 8? 8. Right? So if we have... There's a lot of different things that special summon out Crystal Beast monsters. And if we have this card in our... 2 of these cards in our Spell and Trap Zone, we summon Ruby Carbuncle. Now we can make a Hope Harbinger. Right? So... As far as... So, now that I'm done gassed up this card enough, is it a good buy? I'm not really 100% sure. I personally don't have a copy of this card because it just really hasn't been very meta relevant for a long time. But when the Dark World structure deck came out, I was reminded, oh yeah, this card is insane. I forgot that, like, this card is insane. The problem is nobody runs it because it's kind of hard to make. But it actually is insane with 3 effects that it has. Mostly the first one, obviously. But the 3k attack and you can redirect attacks, that's pretty good. Like, this card can especially in simplified game states, win games on its own. Especially if your deck can make it. I think like usually the Dark World end board, in an ideal Dark World end board is like this card on and at least the fusion monster and like another form of disruption. So I think this is actually not the worst buy, but not a great buy because obviously it's kind of FOMO at this point. Like you would like to have gotten it when it was $1.48, 3 months ago. How long was it? There's no way this card was under. Oh, you'd like to have gotten it a year ago when it was 63 cents. But that just shows you. I mean, just take a look at this. Like, not even like disregard the last month. Disregard from November to now. It came out. It was about 84 cents to $1, and it by itself, without really having anything meta relevant, it got to $1.45, and then up to $1.98. So, at the very least, it's going to be worth that. And Ghost in the Past Second Haunting just came out. I don't see it getting another reprint, but it is the type of card that could randomly see a reprint. So it's just like if I had a rate on scale 1 to 10, even though I've never done this before, I'd probably say like a 6. Like I don't love it, but I don't hate it. But let me know what you guys think in those comments down below. What card do you like the most under $5 or less? Let me know in those comments down below. Make sure you guys click that like button to show your support for the channel. Subscribe for even more content. But most importantly of all, have a good day.